Okay, so we sort of framed our thinking today by, first of all, trying to basically break down all of the actors that we thought participated in this kind of a. I should really turn that off whilst until we get to that. And yeah, never show people the stuff whilst you're still talking. Never distribute your handouts. So we've kind of framed our thinking by thinking who are all the actors in the whole sort of web intense ecosystem, and we kind of our list that we came up with was publishers, users, service providers, the collation agencies, stuff like share this and add this. Content owners, which might not be publishers, might be slightly different, advertisers and user agent providers. So quite a kind of big spread of things. And we were specifically thinking about publisher provider issues. So we started kind of brainstorming the kind of actors around publishers and providers. And we figured that actually personas were a really good way to articulate all of the kind of pros and cons of web intents to these different kind of groups. So that's actually what we've got. And we've got 4 just to kind of talk through quickly. And we felt that this could actually be quite a nice, not only just quite a nice deliverable, but quite a nice thing for other people to take away and kind of use as tools when they're continuing to think about this. So, once this is out there, hopefully it'll prove to be a useful thing. So I'm going to start by talking about our blogger, our content provider, basically. Here we've got Jolie. She's 19. She's in the UK. She's a fashion. She's a textile kind of design student, and she's a fashion blogger. She loves fashion. She's been writing about fashion online for like 3 or 4 years. She's built up a fair following. In fact, she makes about maybe £150 a month or thereabouts through her AdWords. So she really wants to try and kind of extend her reach to as far as she can, because more cash means more shoes for her, critically. This is very important for Jolie. So yeah, her goals are she wants to expand her audience so she gets more revenue. She also wants to be able to access and edit content really quickly and easily. And she doesn't want to have to learn anything. She's not techie. She doesn't want to have to ask her boyfriend, for instance, to help her out with anything. It's her website, so that's really important to her. Her aspirations for Web Intents, well, she wants it to be as easy as possible. She wants to be able to grab images from sites that she sort of surfs around, crop them, tweak the colors, and post them to her blog without having to think about anything else. She wants it to be really snappy. She doesn't want to have to buy or install Photoshop, or she doesn't want to spend money. She doesn't have that kind of cash. She's a student, so yeah, just as simple as possible. Her concerns about it, well, she thinks that it might not be obvious to her users that they can share content and spread this stuff around if it starts to be kind of a control which is in the browser as opposed to in the page. Easy to overlook for her readers, and she's got a lot of younger readers as well. They might not be particularly savvy online, so that's kind of a big issue. And she wants her readers to be able to see what their friends have done, so that she can leverage the kind of social proof factor and leverage the social graph a little bit more. So those are her kind of concerns about the issue. And next, we've got Kevin. So Jim, if you could, do you want to take the mic? I think that's probably all right.
Take this one because you might want to do it.
Yeah. Let's kind of pass it around then.
Can you hear me? Great. So the next one was a service provider. So this is Kevin. He's 28. He's a senior product manager at Pin It Up, wink, in San Jose. So some bio details about him. He's been there for a while. He's a tech guy. He's engaged as a dog. He brings to work. He's a go-getter. He's all about this service he's building. He wants to grow it really fast and really, in his case, really redefine image sharing and curating. So his goals are he wants to integrate it everywhere. He wants to build traffic, repeat users, time on site. He wants to build recognition for his brand, and he wants to try to eventually break into the mobile market, and that's important to him. So aspirations and concerns. So aspirations. He wants to let his dev team basically use this to help him grow, to let people share images directly to their boards. And so he'd be really excited about being able to extend that functionality into, say, clients. their audience is a little more web savvy. They like to use some of the more modern browsers, so that's really attractive. That something like image sharing, image editing could be built in. WebIntents would know when their users like to use Pin It Up or when they want to do image sharing, and so that whole connection would create a kind of interaction that isn't always immediately obvious on the page. So that would be really exciting. And then WebIntents in general just will help him integrate into browsers, and that may eventually help him break into the mobile space. He's not sure, but that sounds really attractive. So that was that. So as far as concerns go, he's got a Pin It button, and he's not really sure how that would fit into the framework. While he would expect to get more traffic from browsers and mobile, right now at least his traffic's coming from pages, and he's going to want to know whether or not that's going to mean a decrease or an increase, and is it one or the other. So he'd want to kind of understand how that works. And then right now he's using Google Analytics to track all of his metrics, including social interactions on his site's pages. And are those going to show up in GA, or are they going to happen, even if they happen, for instance, in a browser that doesn't necessarily support? So Safari, IE is a big part of his, just 57% of his traffic, and so that would be a concern for him as well. So that's the service provider. Next.
So I just
I don't know who's
Yeah,
next.
just the down.
down down. Okay. What have we got next? Nothing at all. Brilliant.
Oh, so where'd they go?
Is it
Return button.
Technology.
I was doing it off my memory key. I think that's probably it. I yanked it. Just take a moment.
It's me. Okie dokie. This is our big publisher. This is Chris Whitaker, who works for the Mail Online, and apologies to anyone who knows anyone who works there or does work there. Basically, I don't think we've got it here, have we?
No.
There is, oops, hello. There is the Mail Online, and you can see that there is already quite a lot there to do with sharing. So, for example, here, and further down in particular articles. So they're already fairly clued into how to share. And they're also fairly clued into how to keep people on the site. They don't really want people to go away. So, back to Chris. He's been there since it began, and he's gone with the Mail Online to, it's now one of the world's leading online newspapers. So he's fairly concerned that, given that he's got a social media strategy that works, he doesn't really want to do that much that's going to, he doesn't want to change it that much unless it's going to be a change for the better. He's got to be assured that it's going to work. So his goals are basically to increase the time on site and the activity of users who visit the site, the amount of traffic, including via social networks. So he wants to be sure that any sharing that's done is going to bring people back in to the site. So he wants to be sure that if stuff gets shared on Facebook, it's going to be shared in such a way that's going to get people back there. He wants to get people to register so he can get demographic information about people, so that if people actually are going to be using WebIntents, for example, to share content, for example, pull out an image or anything like that, he wants to know if they're logged in, how old they are, what gender they are, their location. Because in that way he can get increased advertising revenue. He wants to keep his visitors' interactions on the site. So if people are going to be doing sharing, he doesn't want them to be bounced off or even bounced away from the browser. He wants to keep them there and keep them reading and keep them reading, because he wants to keep the page impressions going, the advertising impressions going. And he wants to increase the use of user-generated content. So he wants good commenting, and better interaction on the site. I mean, he doesn't want the discussion going off onto Facebook at all. He wants to keep it all there. So his hopes for WebIntents, if they do what he would like, is he wants increased sharing of their content, either via the page or via the browser, but he also wants to be able to track it. And if stuff gets shared or saved for later, for example, in Instapaper, that's not a great deal of use. Or if it's shared into a feed reader, it's not a great deal of use to him if he's not getting the advertising revenue, or if he can't track it, if it's going away from what he's doing. And it must be easy. So as you saw there, there's there's an easy way of sharing there, even on the home page, even on the article summary. If you go deeper into the article, it's got the buttons up the top, it's got the buttons down below, it's got the Facebook icon and the social proof readout, so that 42 of your friends also like this article. And frankly, if he can, and if he doesn't have to do anything in terms of technology, he wants to be able to ensure that if you've got an image on the page, if you've got video on the page, and if you've got content, that they're all instantly identified as being shareable. If he doesn't have to do anything, then so much the better. And if you can get RSS to work, then it might boost subscriptions. So his real concerns are, does it provide him with any new analytics? They've got analytics. They've got analytics from several sources, from Google Analytics, from Omniture, and they've got their own inbuilt analytics as well. He doesn't want to find out that these clicks can't be tracked anymore. He doesn't want to find out that the additional data that he can gather from the pages isn't there anymore. He doesn't want any of the branding, any of the My services, like people want to Facebook it. He doesn't want any of those to be hidden. Yeah, and his concerns are that if it goes into a feed reader, then it's basically, it may as well not be on the site. And the addition of any code to the page, however small, however trivial, has got to go through a period of testing, it's got to go through a period of review, and it can't break anything. So any code over hundreds of thousands of pages is going to have an overhead. And basically, and probably most importantly, he doesn't want to get there and find his users are saying, "Where's Facebook gone?" So that's Chris.
Is it the down button? Let's hope. Din, 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 din. Yay! Okay, I'll turn this on. There you go. That's it. Hello. Yeah, where was I? She wants to enable customers to be notified of new relevant stuff that she's selling, and enable customers to save times for later review and action. Don't know what that means. Okay, see, and she wants to be able to easily update her catalogue online, including imagery. So using some of the Web Intents functionality on the CMS, as well as not just the users. Her aspirations to make it easier for payments, perhaps. She hates PayPal, like a lot of people. She's hoping that would make it easier, particularly when she considers that she's got customers from around the world. It would let customers share in a way which works for them. Using RSS, customers could be notified, which again works for them. And she doesn't want to use Photoshop, which previous persona said. Okay, so she's worried that she may not be able to track these word-of-mouth actions. I guess this is Marion before. She's worried about time and expense of implementation. So again, the previous persona had that. She wants to know whether or not she'd need a merchant account. Will this pay web intent require some new system? How will it work? I don't want my web page cluttered with buttons I can't control. So again, she wants some control over this experience, and she doesn't want to confuse my not particularly technical customers with stuff they don't understand. So hopefully I can just about read. And so in summation, from my point of view, and I'll hand it back to Rob, who's over there. this is just us making it up. So this is the first draft of personas, and hopefully other people could take these and validate or otherwise with actual user research and find out if it makes sense. But I think it's quite interesting because particularly like the last persona, the publisher, his needs are quite different from what we're discussing from a user's point of view, and we have to bear that in mind. So Rob, do you want to
Just to kind of sum up, Darren, do these seem real to you? Do these feel like real examples of these kind of users? Do we actually even know? Is it sort of just a complete unknown at the moment? Yeah. Question.
I think it's a good place to start, and they could be extended. There could be other personas as well. So
There's no doubt. I mean, we kind of focused on the.
There will be other personas,
Yeah.
but I mean, I like the idea that it's somewhere to start the conversation, and these are good hypotheses, and then it's a chance to go and validate them and find whether it works or or whether it doesn't work.
Well, the kind of next question is: are these things actually useful if that was to be done? Do you think?
Yeah, definitely.
Someone wrote an article recently about how a lot of social web type projects have failed. Lots of different ones around, how you integrate systems together. And one of the biggest things it was a university research paper. One of the biggest things that they pointed out in the conclusion was that people seem to miss off one actor in a whole row. So you've got a food chain of people.
Yeah.
I don't like using the word food chain, but a food chain of people that you miss off the needs of one of those groups. You actually break the chain and the whole thing falls to pieces. So actually capturing the persona is really interesting because it actually brings and forwards with all those needs, and when you check everything off, you should then go through it and go, actually, have we done it right for everybody? Is it going to be okay for everybody?
Stuff articulated.
Yeah.
What was really cool as you went through the exercise was that some of the things that are, will I see this button, or will this be here or there, that sort of thing, maybe over time and maybe in the bigger picture, some of the kinds of interactions that theoretically could be facilitated, like being able to buy something or being able to edit an image, or some of these things that are more beyond what people can today think about doing with a web page, are really incredibly exciting. So maybe there's a way to get over some of the initial things and get to some of the really exciting interactions. So it was a really solid exercise for us.
Yeah.
So.
Terrific. Fantastic. Thanks very much. Thank you. Cheers.